Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. I hope you're all having a great day and enjoying the last couple days of February. It's kind of crazy that this month's almost over and we're into March soon. So I have a question for you. And did you know that the government has a goal to set aside 23% of all federal dollars to small businesses? Well, tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about that and the certifications as well that narrows down those dollars into specific set asides for different minority and underrepresented businesses. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that this evening. Pop this up here. So um, some information from the White House fact sheet. So in January, the Biden-Harris administration announced its latest actions to expand for small businesses to over $700 billion spent through federal contracts each year. So, and particularly for those owned by individuals from underrepresented communities. So you've got the women-owned, veteran-owned, HUBZone, all of those. And the government is wanting to expand that by about 15% by fiscal year 2025. And so in each of the last 3 years, it has increased spending on contracts to small businesses on the way to that goal. Each year they've been doing just a little bit more. And small businesses received nearly $163 billion in federal contracting in 2022. So you can imagine it's just going to increase from there. Right now, if I remember correctly, the government actually put, it was $3 trillion in out for government contracts just in itself, and small businesses are getting a piece of that pie. And so again, we want to talk a little bit more about how to get that, as a small business. Well, there's different certifications out there for small businesses that can help give you an extra edge on getting these contracts. And so I'm going to explain a little bit. You can see them on the screen. So small businesses, the government's goal is to set aside at least 23% of total eligible contracting dollars each year. Now they are trying to increase that for small businesses as well. Now you have these different set-asides that even narrows down that pool even more. So what these do is if you are certified in any of these are contracts that are set aside specifically for those businesses that meet those qualifications. You do have a whole certification process you do have to go through for each of them. Each one's a little different. We'll talk a little bit on those and kind of hit on those, but so let's talk about the 8A program. So the program is designed to assist small businesses owned by socioeconomically disadvantaged individuals. It provides mentoring, training, access to sole source contracts. So with the 8A, if you have that set aside, some of these contracts can be awarded directly to you without having to bid on these contracts and compete with them. And so some of the, socioeconomically disadvantaged, it can be, women owned, you have black owned, Asian owned, Hispanic owned, Native American owned. Any of these are underrepresented can apply for the 8A program. It is a process to apply for it, and for that, but kind of a little bit information about those. So next one is a woman-owned small business certification. And so the business has to be owned 51% by a woman, and it's good and controlled. And with this, the government setting aside 5%, and you have two different categories. You have the woman-owned small business and the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business. Both of them will have to submit documentation to the SBA and apply for those certifications. But once you get those, like I said, they do have that 5% set aside for those. You're able to bid on those contracts specifically if you have those set asides, which helps to narrow down that pool of contractors going after the same contract. So the next one is the veteran-owned small business. So you have VOSBs, which is veteran-owned small business, and SDVOSBs, which is service-disabled veteran-owned small business. They awarding 3%, but if I remember correctly, I think they just bumped that up to 5% for veteran-owned businesses. And just so you know, the VA, most of the VA typically does their business with veteran-owned businesses. So it's a great agency to get into as well. Again, you have to get certified. There's a process with that as well. But the VA is one of the largest federal procurement organizations and actively seeks to do business with them. The next one is HUBZone, or what's called Historically Underutilized Business Zone. So this is a certification for businesses that are located in designated economically disadvantaged areas. And it provides preferential access to federal contracts in those zones. So there's different pieces of being able to meet that as well. So again, this 3% set aside. Your business has to be in a hub zone. There's a whole map that you can access online to figure out where your hub zone is. And you have to, there's a couple different requirements. One, your business has to be located in a hub zone. I believe your employees that work on that or work for you have to also live in a hub zone as well. And I think it's a certain percentage. It's not all of them, but there is a certain percentage. I don't remember exactly what that is right off the top of my head. And so there's some of those that you have to meet in order to get the HUBZone certification. Okay, and let's see, I've talked on to all of those. So some other certifications you get are state, local, and education certifications. And so there you have like the Minority Business Enterprise or MBE. There's the Women Business Enterprise. Each state has their own minority certifications that you can get to leverage as well, because states, what they like to do is if they like to give it to their own company or own people first in that state. And there's those set-asides that help them as well. And so they will also usually be preferential to these companies. I know when I've been on different contracts with some different states, Florida in particular, because that's where we're at right now, and they prefer to give the money to locally owned businesses and at a specific set aside, which makes perfect sense because they do want to help us small business owners succeed in this realm. So it's not all about the big guys coming out and kind of taking over, and so you really want to leverage those opportunities. So if you haven't ever, or if you're kind of on the fence about getting a certification, whether it be a woman-owned, veteran-owned, HUBZone, highly recommend getting those certifications because it does narrow that playing field down for you. Now the 8A certifications are kind of a little different. I recommend waiting for a couple years, get yourself into the government contracting realm because you want to take full advantage of that 8A. That's only good for 9 years. And if you already established the connections and networking with government agencies, other companies, you'll be that much farther ahead when you actually get that 8A certification. So that's one that I kind of been holding off on, but the other ones, absolutely get them. They're out there to help you and to succeed in the government contracting realm. All right, so I'm going to kind of show you a little bit more on our application to show you what set-asides are out there. So this is our GovCon Core Apps. This is our application that you can access. Let's turn you on. You'll see across the bottom there'll be links to this. So we're going to go right into GovCon Core Apps. And I'm going to show you the different set-asides in there that are out there right now. Well, looks like I was logged in. Let me refresh my page. There we go. Okay, I'm going to show you all the opportunities out there right now in GovCon Core Apps. that are specifically set aside for women-owned small businesses or any of the set asides. So I'm going to remove this NAICS code in here. So these are all the opportunities. And we're just going to come scroll down here on the left, and we're going to do a quick search. So right now there's a total of 9,000 contracts out there with in sam.gov. So you know what, first one we're going to pick is going to be the SDVOSB. It's interesting, I haven't seen that one. Okay, it's just the way it's in there. All right, so as you can see, there's 397 of them set aside for veteran-owned businesses. You have a range of stuff. So you have, looks like different parts, band audio equipment, fitness health classes for, looks like Long Beach and the Veteran Affairs Department. Let's see. There's a Everything Disc online work assessment tool, and location of that one's in Maryland. Security camera system evaluation. I mean, there's a whole bunch out there that you can kind of skim through and see that's for service disabled veteran-owned small businesses. Termite and pest control services. Okay, so those are just those ones out there. Let's look at some 8A ones. Okay, so we have one for a real estate attorney. Actually, two. Yep, looks like two of them. Same area. They might have put it out for, there might be two different agencies, it looks like. Okay, combat craft maintenance facility, physical science technicians. Now these are all 8A set-asides. Okay, laundry and dry cleaning. I mean, there's so much out there that you can see for the different set-asides. Let's go to woman-owned small business. Now, if you don't have a set-aside, that's okay. This is where you learn how to team up with other companies that actually have these set-asides if you're able to help provide some of those resources. So for the woman-owned small business, it looks like they mostly have like parts, tools, IT equipment and components, washer and dryer services. So those are just a couple of the things that are out there for women-owned small business. So ISBE, one we didn't talk about. This one is an Indian small business economic enterprise set aside. So if you are a Native American, you can access these as well. Usually it's through an 8A. So you have propane delivery. And when I tell you the government buys everything, they do buy everything, as you can kind of see here. Okay, so some of those. Let's look at the HUBZone. Let me remove that one. Okay, this is some of the stuff that's out there for the HUBZone right now. We have CDP facility operations, cable assembly radio. So as you can see, there's lots of opportunities. But like I had mentioned before, if you don't have these certifications, but you come across a contract that you know you can do, you look for teaming opportunities. So this is where our GovCon Core Apps actually comes in two pieces. You know, it's easy to navigate those set-asides, but it's also easy to navigate the businesses that already have those certifications. So as you can see here on the left, you have the minority-owned, woman-owned, veteran, 8A, all of these. So let's just pick the veteran-owned businesses out there. Okay, so now I've filtered it down by the veteran-owned businesses. You can now search and figure out if these NAICS codes are match with what you do, so you can narrow that search down even further. So let's say we want to look at the NAICS and my NAICS codes. Looks like there is 148 companies out there for my NAICS codes that I have in the system. Okay. And so say you want to narrow it down further because you do want to make these connections and maybe you would like to actually see them, meet them in person. And so let's say I'm in Colorado. These are the 2 companies in Colorado that are veteran owned that do the same NAICS codes that I use. And you can see that in the last year, the Arcanum Group was awarded $1 million in government contracts. And it's the Educational and Business Services. Looks like they were awarded $12,000. So you can kind of see from there how you can narrow it down for your area and be able to start networking with those agencies. Or you can pick a couple different areas. So those are just some key advantages of using our GovCon Core Apps that can help you navigate this as well. You can also use, it's called DSBS, and I'll show you that one real quick as well. And this is an SBA site. So this is where you can kind of filter into. So say you're wanting to look for woman-owned small business. So we're just going to come in here and select active certifications only. And say we still want to look for my NAICS code. So let's just put that in there. And you can, there's a whole bunch of other things you can select, but for this purpose, we're just going to go through here. Hi, Kim. Thanks for joining me tonight. All right, so here's DSBS. This is a list of all the businesses that have certifications as well. Now you can narrow it down even further. As you can see, it gives their capabilities narrative. You can come in here, we'll select this first one. It dives down even further, gives you a location, point of contact, that information as well. And I did forget, I'll have to show you back on GovCon Core Apps. We have all this information as well because we do pull information from here. And it gives all of this. So you can see that, oh, they're HUBZone certified as well. Yep, they've got their woman owned. And this gives you a lot of information. Here's the NAICS that they've got, some keywords that they utilize. And so you can kind of come through and then what contracts they've been done business with. So gives you a lot of good information in here. But I did want to take you in. So let's just go back to GovCon Core Apps real quick. And I'm going to show you these businesses as well. Okay, so in here is again giving you the business name, address. This was the veteran-owned business. Let's actually go into another one. Let's go into this one. Okay, so this one is actually going to show you, again, all this information, veteran-owned business. You can add points of contact. Like I said, our DSBS stuff is going to be updating, so we'll soon have points of contact and the capabilities, which will also be the keywords. Okay, down here you're going to see the NAICS that they were awarded, what date it was awarded on, amount. You can also go straight to the award notice. It takes you to sam.gov. And so for let's sake of this purpose, it's like, they didn't have to do the 561110. So that's not your NAICS code. Let's look at all the other NAICS code they're using just to see maybe they are using a different NAICS code than what we're using. And so we want to get in there. So this is where you can kind of do a little bit more research about which NAICS codes actually yielding them more results. So that's kind of a deep dive into certifications and GovCon Core Apps and how you can leverage the system to help quickly search for opportunities and businesses that have those set asides as well. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate everybody that got on. Next week, we're going to be covering how to source contracts efficiently using sam.gov, some state portals, as well as using our GovCon Core Apps. So thank you for joining me. If you watching this replay, please put replay in the chat. Love to see who's watching. And thank you again. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good one.